So, welcome back to Cloud Formation Day. I know you guys have a sheet of paper or a set of notes on your computer that looks roughly like this. You can ignore all this stuff up here. This is some historical information that if you were here in person, I would explain to you, and it's kind of interesting and not 100% necessary. So I want you to start right down here, and you're going to see a picture just like that right here on my board. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the names of the different types of clouds and how to recognize them and explain what they tell you about the weather so you can use them to kind of predict what's happening now and what might happen in the near future. So to start with, I want you to notice some of these clouds are puffy and some of these clouds form a layer. So the difference here is when clouds are puffy, that tells you the air is rising really fast. So all of these have air rising quickly. That's called unstable air. These guys have air rising slowly, and that's called stable air. So the air is rising, it's just not rising at the same rate, and so it allows the moisture to spread out. Over here, the air is rising fast, and it causes it to grow upwards instead of outwards, simply because it's rising fast. So that being said, let's go ahead and name some clouds. The first ones I want to start with are these three puffy ones. When it's down low, a puffy cloud that's large like this is called a cumulus cloud. Okay? Now a cumulus cloud, like I said, is puffy because it's rising fast and it's a low-level cloud. That's our basic name. Once a cloud starts to form higher up in the atmosphere, we add some stuff to it. For example, this one's puffy, so it's still going to say cumulus, but since it's in the middle of the atmosphere, it's called an alto, A-L-T-O, alto cumulus. Now what happens when it forms way up high? It's still puffy, so guess what it's going to have? It's still going to say cumulus, but now it's going to say C-I-R-R-O, cirrocumulus. So what I want you to notice is the commonality here. They're all types of cumulus clouds. When it's down low, there's no prefix, it's just cumulus. When it's in the middle, a medium-sized cloud, it's an altocumulus. When it's up high and small, it's a cirrocumulus. Now what happens when it's raining and it's puffy? Now it's called a, let me get rid of my arrow, cumulo, all one word, nimbus. And nimbus means rain. So I have puffy cloud that's raining, cumulonimbus. That's another name for a thunderstorm cloud. I have a nice bolt of lightning here. So this is my thunderstorm cloud. You'll notice he starts down low and grows way up high. That's because the air is rising extremely fast. And so he forms a vertically developed cloud. So far we have 4 cloud types. All have the name cumulus because they're all puffy because they all have air rising fast. Now let's look at the stable air, where the air is rising slower. When it's down low, it is simply called a stratus cloud. That means a layer. Strata literally means layer. When it's in the middle of the atmosphere, it's not as thick, because remember, there's less moisture there. As air is rising, it's put in the middle of the atmosphere, so it's going to start with alto, and it's still a layer, so it's going to end in stratus, altostratus. Anybody want to predict what that top one is? It's still a layer, so it's going to have stratus in it, but it's up high, so it's going to start with cirro. So I've got cirrostratus. So really what you need to remember is these are the base words when they're down low. When they're in the middle of the atmosphere, it starts with alto. When they're high up, they're called cirro. And there's one more cloud type that I forgot. Actually, there's 2. I lied. Let's jump back down to stratus for a minute. Let's make him rain. If this guy was raining, it would be called a nimbostratus. Because remember, nimbus means rain, so nimbostratus means layered cloud that's raining. Nimbostratus. Now the other cloud type I forgot to mention, sometimes the tops of thunderstorms or the tops of big clouds get blown off way out into the atmosphere, and it's just these little thin wisps, and those are called cirrus clouds. And it doesn't have to be from the thunderstorm, that's just one example, but you often will get these thin wispy clouds that form way up high. They're very feathery, they're kind of made of ice, so they look very thin. And they, again, are called cirrus clouds. And those are your types of clouds. Okay, on the back side of the notes, I forgot there was stuff there. I just now noticed it. Let me just run through it with you real quick. It says, for cloud formation, the cloud base height, in other words, just the height of the cloud itself. What determines that? You got to go back to what we talked about earlier. The base height, whether it's here or here or here, is determined by the amount of moisture in the air or the humidity. If it's down low, you know the air is very humid. If it's way up high and small, you know the air is not as humid. So just by looking outside, for example, I'm looking outside today and I see clouds that are a medium size. That tells me the humidity is not really high, it's not really low, it's somewhere in the middle. Cloud shape, puffy or layered, that is determined by how fast it's rising. So if the air is rising fast, you get puffy cumulus type clouds. If the air is rising slow, you get layered stratiform type clouds.